truth. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. The truth about chiropractic. Chiropractic 101. You know, for so many individuals, even, you know, for those that have been patients at the Limerick Chiropractic Center for years, decades of time, you know, for others that are brand new to chiropractic, or maybe are just simply exploring the possibilities of what does chiropractic hold for me, this conversation tonight is going to hold truth for you. It's going to be the truth about some of the things that you need to know about what is behind chiropractic. Yes, the history. Yes, some of the principles. But more so, the hope. The hope that it gives each and every one of us. The hope that we're not stuck and that we have an unused resource that we get to tap into in order to help ourselves accomplish that recovery goal. Now, I'm going to tell you, you know what? If you're brand new to chiropractic, this is a great conversation to start with. In fact, the big thing that I'm going to ask you to do when we're finished with today's conversation is very, very simple. Share it. Because I realize that there are so many others out there that don't know what you know about chiropractic. And in fact, you know, if you're a patient at the Limerick Chiropractic Center and this is part of your care and one of those courses that we talked about is part of your responsibility to get the information from, listen, there are going to be things in this class tonight that you never, ever heard of before. I want to hear from you. I want to hear about what's that thing that, you know what, you didn't know that was new and exciting or just didn't know that was a revelation for you from the conversation tonight. Because like many individuals, they're not even aware that chiropractic is not just a science, but it's an art and it's a philosophy. It's those three things. And each one is not independent of each other. Each one of those things coexist with one another. They're intertwined. You know, the science is just like any other, you know, medical professional. It's the anatomy, it's the physiology, it's how does the body work. It's the structure of the system. The art form is how the correction or the spinal adjustment is delivered. The technique, and we'll talk about that, the different techniques that are out there. But then it's the philosophy. It's the truth. It is the why do I do what I do? And in turn, as we have those three things working together, it helps to drive the conversation of what exactly is chiropractic. Now, for so many, you know, they get confused because not every chiropractor picks the same technique. Not every chiropractor chooses to use the same means or the same tools in his, her, or her office. In the end, the bottom line is very simple. You're going to find out that removing and correcting the subluxation, the bone that's out of place, is the most important thing. The manner in which it's done, who does it, is second to the fact that that correction is taking place. So tonight, sit back and enjoy. Enjoy the conversation. In fact, we're going to start with the fellow that, well, he wasn't a chiropractor, but Hippocrates was the father of medicine. You know what? And I love the fact that he stated, get knowledge of the spine, for this is the requisite for many diseases. 300-400 BC. Recognizing that if in fact you actually want to look towards the root cause of many diseases, of many problems, you have to look to the spine. Hippocrates recognized that the spine was the master system of the body. It controlled absolutely everything else. And listen, you know, we recognize that as Daniel David Palmer or D.D. Palmer made the very first chiropractic adjustment in 1895, he recognized that he wasn't the first person to use spinal levers in order to fix and correct the alignment, to remove pressure on the spinal nerves and allow for the normal flow of information to be transmitted the way it's supposed to. Oh no. He knew he wasn't the first. He was just simply that first individual that put the name to this process. And in the end, we had the birth of chiropractic in September 18th, 1895. The very first adjustment was given on that date. In fact, the very first individual to receive the adjustment was Harvey Lillard. And this wasn't something that just happened because, well, I sort of, tripped over the fact that this bone was out of place. It was studied. It was tested and evaluated for quite some time before that very first adjustment was even made. And I think this is so important because many individuals think that, this is just something a chiropractor does. Oh no, you're going to realize by the end of this class tonight that, there's a lot that goes behind just delivering that spinal adjustment. Now, Daniel David Palmer's, his son, B.J. Palmer, is known for stating, we never know how far-reaching something that we're going to say or do today is going to affect the lives of millions tomorrow. And wow, isn't that true? That very first adjustment in 1895 is now the world's largest alternative healthcare system. And I don't necessarily like that word alternative because it's the most natural healthcare system. It uses the resource that's within each and every one of us to do the healing that our body is required to do. And simply because of that thought, simply because of that philosophy, that I don't need drugs, I don't need surgery, my body can do the healing. There were many individuals who fought for the right to perform chiropractic in their communities. In fact, many individuals were thrown in jail for practicing medicine without a license. And no, chiropractic is not medicine. It's not allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine simply means, relief from suffering, killing the pain, getting rid of the ouch or the sore. Well, that's not what chiropractic is. Chiropractic is adjusting and treating that vertebral subluxation that blocks the normal transference of information the way the body's supposed to be. And in turn, this went on for years. In fact, there was a court case, it's called Wilkes versus the AMA in 1976. It was upheld in 1990. It simply stated that, listen, the American Medical Association was in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. They were attempting to put chiropractic out of business. And it was totally and completely an economic venture on their part. We recognize that in the end, that this was something that was not deemed to happen. Yes, the Supreme Court found in favor of the chiropractic community, and in fact allowed for chiropractors to continue to practice chiropractic. Now, this answers the question for many of you out there, why are there so many, medical doctors adverse to referring to chiropractors? Or just simply don't like chiropractic, period. Well, the total reason behind it is because of what's called the Councils on Quackery. And yes, I know that sounds silly and it sounds a little bit funny when I have to say it. But truly, that's what the AMA taught in school. They had a council on quackery. And in fact, that's where medical doctors were trained and taught not to refer to chiropractors. In the chiropractic education, listen, it is exactly the same as your medical doctors, except we don't spend our time studying things like surgery and pharmaceuticals. We spend the majority of our time, aside from all of the natural sciences, studying about the chiropractic techniques. There are over 100 different chiropractic techniques. And this is why I said before, when you go walking into a chiropractic office, not every office is exactly the same. Thank goodness. Because there are some techniques that are designed to do what's called corrective care work. Something that we do in our office called CBP, Chiropractic Biophysics Technique. There are other techniques like the activator, light force adjusting techniques that allow for us to identify and correct vertebral subluxations using an adjusting instrument, controlling the depth, the intensity, and the location of the force that gets put into the body. Now, each one of those is very different. In fact, if you ever watch us adjust children in our office, the entire adjustment for pediatrics is largely done with our pinky. Very light force, because their bodies are different than yours and mine. But here's the big thing. In the end, that chiropractic adjustment is tailored for what your body requires. The technique is picked and chosen based upon what's in your best interest. You don't have to be stuck in a little square box. You're not taking a pill that looks exactly the same as everybody else's pill. Oh no. In turn, that care for you is unique and very different. In fact, we recognize that, who needs to be adjusted, who needs to get, more importantly, get checked, is absolutely everybody. See, in the end, as a chiropractor, we recognize there's stresses and forces that come at us every single day of our life, including that very first day with the delivery process. Normal vaginal delivery is 35 to 50 pounds of pressure on a baby's head and neck. If we have to use forceps or C-section or suction, listen, all of a sudden that number goes up to 100 to 150 pounds of pressure. Remember, that baby, not even able to hold its own head up, is now having that much force, that much pressure going through those spinal joints. Of course they can't hold those bones in place. But then we have simple things like, learning how to walk, how to ride bikes. By the time we turn 4 years of age, it's estimated that over 4,000 impacts. And I'm going to encourage you, if you've never been around a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old as they're learning how to walk and motoring along, in those early years, stop, watch one. It takes about 5 minutes to understand how children could possibly subluxate themselves. Up and down, tripping over their own feet. Heck, as we get older, we're running into things. We have siblings that knock us down, beat us up, we're playing sports in school. And the list of insults just continue to come with us wired to computers, with us being behind the wheel of the car. All types of stresses that come into our body. Besides the simple stress of gravity, which is constantly pushing down on us. So who should be tested? Absolutely everyone. Because here's the most important thing. Maintenance is simple. Correction takes time. I love the fact that when we maintain our spine, it's simple, it's easy, it is a joy. When we find ourselves in acute problems, well then guess what? Yeah, there's time, there's effort, there's intensity of work that goes into stopping the downward spiral, turning the body around, moving it in the right direction, so that you can learn to maintain the body the way it's supposed to. These subluxations are the only reason why a chiropractor would ever be making those adjustments. Quite simply, and we won't get into a lot of detail, a subluxation, bone's out of place. It puts pressure on the nerve. Whatever's connected to it can't work the way it's supposed to. And if you need to visualize, just visualize that circuit breaker box down in your basement. Go down there, trip one of those circuit breakers. Rest of the house is still going to be running. But whatever room that circuit is going to, well, everything along that course is not going to be working the way it's supposed to. Our job as chiropractors is very simple. Find that, fix it, and leave it alone. Let the body doing the healing the way it's supposed to. Because your nervous system, it controls absolutely every single part of our body. In fact, it's Gray's Anatomy that describes that in great detail if you really want to do the research and look at it. It's called Embryology 101. You study it. You're going to figure out right away. Your nervous system is the master system. It commands every other part of the body to form. And it continues to tell those parts of the body to work the way they're supposed to. Yes, your nervous system creates a signal at 100%. It expects that you're going to receive it at 100%. Listen, we just have to stay out of our own way. Because that innate intelligence is exactly what runs our body. Listen, I know it's dinner time. Some of you have already eaten. Some of you are going to be eating. You ever wonder, how does my body know exactly how much acid or base to put into my stomach to break down material? That innate intelligence does it. How do you know when the next heartbeat's supposed to be there? Or the next time you're supposed to breathe? That inborn intelligence is responsible for understanding that. Albert Schweitzer, each patient carries his own doctor inside him. I love that because it's absolutely true. You break a bone, you don't tell your body to start the healing process. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts, little cells that are responsible for healing and forming bone, guess what? They kick into action as soon as that bone is broken. You get a cut, you don't have to tell your body to close it up, stop the bleeding, put new tissue down, get rid of this. No. Your inborn intelligence knows exactly what to do. And in fact, the intelligence is present everywhere in your bodies. Our own inner intelligence is far superior to any we can substitute from the outside. I love that. I love the fact that as an allopath, as a medical doctor, recognizing that what we have within us is far superior than anything that we can take into our body. And that is one of those big differences between most medical doctors and chiropractors. Chiropractors that believe that, hey, listen, you have that healing from within. Medical doctors believe that they can control everything from the outside with a pill, with a needle, with some type of a drug or surgery. It is just not the truth. Your brain knows exactly what to do and how to do it. Because all that healing comes from the inside of you. It flows from above down and then the inside out. We just simply have to get out of our own way. And our purpose here at the Limerick Chiropractic Center is to educate and adjust as many families to optimal health using natural chiropractic care. Utilizing what's already inside of each and every one of us. What's inside of you. Now, my ask of you is quite simple. Share this information. I know that we covered history of chiropractic very quickly. Chiropractic 101. Oh, there was a lot more that we could have covered tonight. There's a lot of stuff in chiropractic history that is absolutely fascinating. But I want to hear from you. What's the thing that you learned tonight that maybe you didn't know before? Maybe you weren't aware that chiropractors were thrown in jail. Maybe you didn't know that your nervous system was the very first thing to form inside your body. Each and every one of us is different. But as we look at these truths, and as we study these truths, we get a better understanding of how to make better decisions for ourselves. And I love the fact that each and every one of us has that opportunity of now helping somebody else. By simply sharing this information, by simply allowing them to experience those truths also so that they can learn for themselves. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.